Welcome everyone, and here's my review of the very cheap gimbal that GoodLuckBuy sell. As you see on the screen here, it's $85.15, which is in the 50s of pounds for the UK guys, and it doesn't really have much of a title other than the fact that it says it's made for the Phantom and it's for a GoPro free. I'm not fitting it to a Phantom and I haven't got a GoPro free, but I didn't want to let that put me off. You'll see from this picture that it seems to have some mounting holes in the middle, which I guess align to the Phantom. I'm going to be putting this on a 450 and I haven't got any such holes, so I'm kind of going to be winging it for that bit. Also take a look at the way the GoPro Free goes on, where you've got little gaps on the left and the right of the camera. The GoPro Free is quite a little bit smaller than the GoPro 2, but I'll come up to this later. And these last couple of pictures from GoodLuckBuy show it connected to the Phantom, where it seems to fit on quite nicely. I actually didn't buy this directly from GoodLuckBuy. I bought it from someone on a forum who had bought it but decided he couldn't use it, so I got it off him, delivered to me for £50. So the price is right at least. So here's how I actually connected the gimbal to my F450's front frame. Basically I'm just using zip ties, or cable ties, depending which country you're from, to go through some of the holes and get that pretty flush to the front plate. On the front of the gimbal here, there's two servo type plugs. I've got one connected so I can change the tilt angle. The other one's for roll. They look a bit weird in terms of they're right sticking out the front of the gimbal, but again, I suppose if you're connecting this to a Phantom, it might be more reasonably set in the middle of the craft. So I've attached a GoPro Free with my live out cable, and you can see straight away that there's a problem as it won't balance by itself. That live out cable just sticks a little far out to get there comfortably. Again, GoPro Free a little bit smaller and it might be okay. Now when we activate the gimbal, we see we've got a problem here. If there's any slight resistance to the motors, it kind of freaks out. So it's okay going in this direction, but as soon as we tilt the other direction, ask it to move that weight, the gimbal freaks out, the motor goes, and it really does go badly wrong. So we can't have a GoPro 2 in this position with the live out cable in the position that it is. So what I've done here is attached a GoPro where I think it should be without the live out cable, and you see it balances quite nicely. Even though it's not brilliantly positioned on the centre, it kind of sticks out the back a bit. And to get it flush against the side there, I'm kind of having to push it over towards the motor a bit more. But that's really the balance position. So if we turn this on now, we see there's a real difference. We can move around in all directions and the gimbal pretty much works well. We can still go to extreme angles where, again, the motor meets resistance, it starts freaking out a little bit. And that can be a problem when on the floor as well. But we'll come to see that bit. This is a picture of what I actually flew with. So I've turned the GoPro upside down, which has given me the space to get my live out cable in and still have range of movement. Obviously the lens isn't central to the gimbal. This didn't make much of a difference. Although in practicality terms this is really bad. The on-off switch is covered by another one of the straps, and there's two straps there because I've put some foam down to stop it slipping, but I needed two straps to keep it equal. Also, of course, the power button for the GoPro is now underneath. So to turn this on and start it, I have to take the whole thing off again, press buttons, and then put it back on the gimbal and get ready to fly. So this needs to change. What I'm looking at is the connector in the back of the GoPro, and I've ordered a part there so I can make up my own live out cable. So as I start up here, you can see the problem with the camera platform just resting on the ground and having an issue with the motor. So I actually have to take off visually here just to make sure I could get it in the air and it would be quite happy once there. You'll also notice instantly that the config I've got with the legs isn't going to work for this. Both legs are now in display and pretty much will be at all times. Of course it serves as quite a useful purpose for this test flight, because I can see how much movement the quad is doing from my viewpoint and how much work the gimbal's doing to counteract that. So what I'm pretty much doing is just having a little flight just around the field, seeing if I can get used to how it flies. Of course, it's not rolling at all as I'm going into corners, which I'm finding a little bit strange. And I'm getting quite obsessed with the tilt already. I have to say, from a first impression, I was pretty pleased. It looks like I've just got a camera pretty much hanging in the air at this point. As we go over here, I feel I should have just a quick point about the tilt mechanism and the control method I'm using. For this flight, I'm using my Tyrannus, and I initially put my tilt switch on this side slider. However, this is actually on a ratchet, so when you see movement on the tilt, sometimes it can be a bit jerky as the ratchets go from point to point. So what I'll do for future is put it on this nice smooth potentiometer knob, which I think will make things a lot smoother. So just coming back to the flight, and I'm basically just doing a couple of circles on the field, seeing how things feel. I'm really finding the whole lack of tilt strange. It's like I might not bother doing coordinated turns at all, just use the yaw mechanism for turning. So I just decided here to see if I could get a picture of myself and tilt down as I go. You can sort of see the slight jerkiness in there, and that little flicker was where the top of the camera was just catching on something and having one of its little moments. It's a real novelty for me, being able to look all the way down like this. I'm not used to a tilt mechanism on a multi. I quite like it. It's a different sort of angle. So I thought I'd take a fly over here and pretty much go through the same thing on that little lump of trees there. The intention wasn't quite to go as low here. I'm finding that my senses are quite dulled to what the quad's doing. It's going to take a little bit of practice just to get used to it, and just to look for different visual cues about speed and height and things like that. Again, I'm just slightly obsessing about, look at me, I can look downwards instead of along now, and just having a bit of fun with it. For some reason it's generated a few people to have a look. I was thinking I was in a nice deserted place, but a few people seemed to turn up and be quite interested in what I was up to. This is an interesting point, as I'm flying fast here, but I didn't really get the impression of speed. I could just see the goalpost suddenly appearing, which was a bit of a worry. So I'll really have to learn to look for other signs that things are moving, not just the fact I'm tilting towards the floor anymore. So rather than that shot in the mirror that lots of people do, I thought I'd look at myself here and give it a bit of a wiggle. Again, I managed to catch one of those going over the angle too much that made the gimbal stutter here. Just that bit. But in terms of how smooth it is, really I couldn't be more pleased. For £50, although it's taken a little bit of different setup for me, it's really quite good. So it gets a thumbs up. If you're prepared to look at the slight differences you might need to do on a different frame. For example, I need new legs that are a bit higher and don't get in the way, and I need to change the way I connect my live out to my GoPro. But other than that, I'm all sorted. So there you go, end of review. Catch you in the next one. Bye.